This is the discussion about, again, just a reminder, the title is AI Automation and Martech, how businesses can add tech leadership to unlock larger, more profitable projects. This is going to be the essential time to discuss these topics, to discuss the future of AI integrated with Martech, marketing technology, to understand what businesses require to understand this thing, how we have to move further, how we have to project our future in terms of the effective use of AI. We have to get the, the right forecast should be there in front of us so that we could get more return on our investment in our businesses, in the projects that we are doing. So I am starting this session and let me share my screen, please. First of all, very warm welcome to Adam. Thank you so much for joining us today. And it's been a pleasure having conversation with you prior to this webinar. And I'm sure your tremendous experience would bring in a lot of information and knowledge to our audience, to us, to every single person who has been able to just, be our audience today. It would be a good experience for the learning, for projecting the future. So I'm starting it again. This live webinar is being hosted by Legend Digitech, the digital marketing agency. The topic today is AI automation and Martech, how businesses can add tech leadership to unlock larger, more profitable projects. Starting from this slide, coming towards the introduction phase, there are 4 parts of this live webinar, including introduction, objective, panel discussion, and question and answers. Then we will conclude the whole session. So moving towards the introduction phase, Legend Digitech is a digital marketing agency providing all sort of services, including SEO marketing, social media services, website designing, graphics, post designing, and many more. With a vision to shape the digitally inclusive future by 2030, we are on a mission to drive innovation by reducing inequalities and shaping sustainable communities, aligning with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Coming towards the introduction of the host, this is me, Gulfishan Tahir, a seasoned research and brand strategy specialist, bringing in 17 years of experience in marketing, fitness, sports, digital media, and the IT sector, aiming to create equitable opportunities for all the global digital economy, for all in the global digital economy. And then coming towards our respected guest, Adam Etline. He is a former VML Ogilvy and Havas tech leader with over 26 years of experience. And forgive me, Adam, I don't really want to be ageist, but I think this is your profound experience that needs to be mentioned here. Amazing. So you are helping digital agencies, consultancies, and startups bridge the gap between business and technology, working on his motto of creating a better world through speed, clarity, and peace of mind. So, some questions that I have for you, Adam, starting for the introduction part. Uh, can you give us a quick overview of your background and what led you into this role?
Sure. So first of all, thank you, Gulfishan, and also Mr. Fahad for the opportunity to share my experience and everyone at Legend Digitech and the Legend Group. One thing I just realized is that it's September and I realize I have 27 years experience now. So I need to update my marketing materials, but I feel very old. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I told you 26, so don't worry. Yeah, exactly. So my name is Adam Etline. I'm operating as fractional CTO out of Dubai, but I service clients globally. Most of my clients are digital agencies and startups, small startups. I'm from New York. I graduated before the dot-com bubble. That's how old I am. And I got a computer science degree. So I used to be a hands-on developer working in different technologies. I was moved to architect and then moved my way up in the agency world, digital agency world, always on the tech side, and became a technical leader over time. I lived in Singapore for about 5 years before I moved to Dubai. the past 3 years, and in the last couple of years, I went independent, and I'm helping agencies kind of get the value that I've learned from the larger companies and trying to bring that to the smaller agencies. And I live here in Dubai with my 2 teenage boys and my wife.
That's amazing, amazing. Thank you so much again, Adam, for your participation here, for giving us this time. Uh, Another question that I would like to ask you, where do you think AI automation and MarTech are such urgent topics for agencies right now?
Yeah, so of course, AI and automation are massive. We're pressured as agencies to deliver cheaper and faster all the time. We've always had, but even more so now than ever, especially because the in-house teams are so much more capable. They have all these AI tools in front of them, same ones we use. So, it's very, very important for us to be experts in this. And also on the MarTech side, even the outbound for actual agencies themselves and also for the clients. I mean, there's tons and tons of tools out there, and sometimes it's overwhelming. You don't know where to start. So kind of important for us to have an opinion, a specific opinion, and to kind of understand what we can bring to the table. So yeah, it's hugely important right now, of course.
Yeah, okay, yeah, definitely. I would agree with that part. That's true. There are so many tools available these days. So, what should attendees expect to take away from this session?
Yeah, I think everyone should expect me to know everything and predict the future perfectly. That's what I expect. No, I'm just kidding. I think that I can only expect to share my experience. My main goal of Fractional CTO is like just, sharing my experience from different small and big agencies and kind of bringing that in more of a kind of a manageable cost for my clients, in a fractional way, in a very concentrated way. So, and I feel like, you can't get some of these answers from ChatGPT. You have to have some of this experience with the school of hard knocks, so to speak. So I feel like maybe if someone learns a little bit of something from my experience, I feel like I'm happy about that.
I think more because the human touch cannot ever be eliminated. That's the most important thing. This is exactly what we are focusing on. Moving to the
Yeah.
next slide, a bit of the disclaimer, the views and the questions shared in this session are not political, are not personal, and by no means they are affiliated with anyone. Right now, our core objective is to encourage business focused discussions on how digital transformation, AI, and marketing technologies are shaping the future of small and medium sized businesses. This session is designed to spark ideas, exchange insights, and explore opportunities in a rapidly evolving market with a focus on entrepreneurs, professionals, and new business ventures looking to grow sustainably. This webinar aims to educate both new and established businesses on how AI and automation can modernize their websites, systems, and workflows. Our guidance will learn how to align their digital presence with expert strategies from our leading digital agents. However, our respected guest will specifically highlight the importance of AI in the research and clients acquisition process, talking about some important topics like vibe coding and AI and MarTech integration. So, here some of the questions for you. I would like to ask as the icebreakers. What's the most
Mhm.
surprising lesson you have learned working as a fractional CTO?
Yeah, so I think that what I'm very surprised at is that AI adoption is so uneven. You have some people who are totally all in and like trying everything, every tool, and they're crazy about it. And you have some people who are very, very cautious, especially in heavily regulated industries, understandably so. But it's just this widening gulf. Some people are going in, some people are not. So it's surprising to me because I feel like I'm in a little bit of an echo chamber when it comes to my social feed, right? Everything on my social feed is AI doomers, AI positive people, everything. I just feel like I'm obsessed with it, right? And I don't know if it's probably feeding on itself, but people who aren't trying the stuff who really understand it's surprising to me. So I guess it's a market opportunity for us to know we're trying to kind of get up to speed on everything as fast as we can. Like it's such a marketing opportunity. So that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I've been surprised at the unevenness.
That's true. I would agree to that part because finding the gap at the right time, the timeliness is really important. The
Mhm.
next question is, can you share one interesting way you're using AI in your own daily workflow?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this, and I spend a lot of time driving my car in Dubai alone. Like I'll drive the kids to school, and then I'll drive somewhere else alone, and I'm talking to ChatGPT the whole time. I'm asking questions to it. I'm like having a conversation with it. I'm usually thinking about something work related or something else personal, and it's like it's so great. Sometimes I'll even feed it a bunch of documents before I get in the car, and then we'll talk about the documents. You know what I mean? Or take notes for me, and then it'll take notes, and then when I get there, I'll email it to myself. I mean, soon it's just going to be like, okay, email me this, call this person, blah blah blah. I mean, like in 5 minutes, it's going to be like that. But yeah, I love driving and talking to my friend. Sometimes I call my ChatGPT Mr. Computer. But anyway, I guess everyone's got their own name for it.
That's amazing, and I totally understand it. Like that's visible in all the communication we had earlier, the speed and clarity in your communication, in your messages. So that's amazing. Thank you for that. Another question. This is interesting one. Is there a book or podcast that really changed how you think about technology and leadership?
Yeah, so my favorite podcast these days is called Moonshots by Peter Diamandis. He's like the guy who started the X Prize, and it's a bunch of Silicon Valley people that actually they're global people, to be honest. And it's kind of roundtable format, and they are the people that know what's happening today like today in the industry. You know, from a societal perspective, from a business perspective. You know how things are impacting, like the wars between the big industries, and they're positive. You know, they're like positive about it. I mean, yes, the doomers I listen to as well, but these guys are positive. They're like longevity, everybody's going to live to 200, and robots are coming and they're going to take care of our babies, you know, all that kind of crazy stuff. They're on top of it, you know. So I love listening to those guys, and they're like, it's like 2 hours of content or hour and a half of content, and they're really really good and really smart. So I recommend it. Moonshots is the name.
Really amazing. I would definitely give it a try, and I would love if audience could just get to know about this book. This is amazing. These insights really matter a lot. Um, just a question about forward thinking in terms of the investment. If you could only invest in one digital tool this year, would it be social media ads, AI automation, or your own website?
Yeah, I mean, from a marketing perspective to market your own brand, I mean, you need a website, right? And I guess social ads, I don't know. I think that they have these hyper local ideas now what they're doing, but obviously, I think AI automation underpins everything, right? So it's easy to say yes, invest in AI, but you really need to think about where to invest and how to invest. So and it's not getting a data science on staff, you know, or something like that. It's really like finding your problems and investing in the automation on the things that you actually can see value in and have return on investment on. So long story short, yes, AI.
Okay, that's really
Hmm.
interesting. And okay, moving forward to the next slide. So here we're going to actually start the panel discussion. I hope all the participants are there and our audience has started to enjoy the session. So let's start the main topics. The panel discussion is comprised of leveraging AI automation in business development, how to safely use AI automation in the delivery process, integration with Martech, and storytelling. Because again, it's all about stories, it's all about human touch, and this is exactly what we're trying to focus here. Starting from the first part, leveraging AI
Hmm.
automation in business development. So there are certain questions, the areas which are going to be covered in this section. They are AI and automation for outbound marketing, and I would like to ask this question regarding this particular area. How can agencies use AI and automation effectively for outbound lead generation?
Yeah, so for lead gen, I mean, there's so many tools out there, and it's great, but it's also that's the problem, right? Because everyone has access to these tools, and that's why our inboxes are spammed, are full of outbound. You know, so much. It's crazy, right? So people don't read them. So the hard part is not using these tools. You kind of have to because everyone else is, and you'll never get to that signal to noise ratio that's going to be good enough to get you the to that point in the funnel. So at the beginning of the funnel, yes, you need to be on top of it. You need to have your very narrowly focused ICP and get your outbound out there and try to get through that spam. But once you get leads down the funnel and once you get closer to where people are starting to spend their money, then it switches quickly to the human side. You know what I mean? So you have to like be on top of making sure you're answering as a person. I mean, you can always get your AI to kind of answer as a person. People kind of, I think we'll talk about that, but people kind of know when it's an AI, when it's not. But yeah, like you have to kind of take the qualified leads and then switch quickly to be more human. Because at the end of the day, there's so many companies out there, especially if you're thinking globally. The people are going to work with the people they like and they trust, and that's it. Because everyone's competent now, right? So it's like, who do I want to hang out with? It's almost like it's no longer this kind of race to the bottom of price. We kind of like got to that point. It's like the marathon runners were shaving like milliseconds off. We're kind of there now. So now it's like, okay, what other metrics can I have? Do I want to hang out with these people? Do I trust them? Okay, yes. So that's why you got to kind of get past that automation point and get to the human side.
Okay, that's really interesting. So basically, what you're trying to say is more towards the personalization of those messages while creating the outbound lead marketing, lead generation.
Yeah, like on the beginning side, when you're doing the lead gen with the automation, yes, you have to do all the best practices to try to compete with all the other people that are doing outbound because there's so many. You know what I mean? So you have to get that. But at a certain point, once you get those leads from an outbound only, obviously there's a million ways to get leads, right? Once you get those outbound leads to respond after you do all your fancy tricks, then you got to get to the human side. Then you got to actually leave voice notes. You know what I mean? Like do that human thing because it's a little bit of a differentiator.
Yeah, that's true. I would agree to that thing. That's really true because this is what we have at our agency. This is something that we have been trying, and I think this is the best part. The personalization of the messages that's works the best. This is the best strategy that we play. Coming
Yeah.
towards the ROI expectations for small business owners, here comes the question. With the perspective of a small business owner, how do you decide which digital tools are truly worth paying for and which ones only look good on paper? I think that's a tough one.
It is, but it is tough, but it's easier now than ever, in my opinion, because the tools are so cheap. These tools are so affordable, like to get started with. That many have free version, and many of them have $8, $20 a month. So you can try them out for 1 month. So and there some of them are very narrowly focused to what you want, vertical specific. Like I know this tool that's very specific for only marketing to digital agencies, like they say niches get riches, that saying. So it's like people are focused very, very close on these narrow. So you have to try them. You have to try them. Don't be afraid to spend $20 to try it. You just don't need to get that year subscription. I always see, save 10% if you buy for a year. And it's like, my God, a year is like, flying cars and robots, it's so far. So just get that 1 month and try it, and if you waste a little money, it's okay. But you make sure you don't have to buy these mega architectures anymore, these enterprise tools. You can have several decoupled tools and have some automation orchestration software that's, like N8N or Zapier that's talking to each other. So I wouldn't be scared of this anymore. It's not really that it's a much lower barrier to entry to kind of get very high powered stuff. You just got to make sure you do it with security, you do it right, you do it maintainably. Like, you're not going to be in a situation where you set something up and then only one person knows how to do it and you left the company. And also, yeah, just a little bit of investment in R&D goes a long way, these days. You have to figure out which tool works for your business.
Definitely. And in fact, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. The R&D, without the R&D and the foundation, no businesses can grow at this time because of the fast pace and being so much adaptive to the latest technology, to the new tools, whatever is available in the market right now. So I would move forward towards this question, which is about research and client insights during the pre-sales process. And my question is, how do you see AI improving research and client insight during pre-sales?
Yeah, so I think that it's such an opportunity well, there's two pieces, right? It's a huge opportunity to increase the fidelity of what you're delivering when you pitch stuff, but the problem is everyone has this, so you have to do it, right? So it used to be like you have a pitch and it's like, okay, we're going to sit down with you for 3 months and we're going to do a discovery phase. And then after discovery phase, we're going to tell you what to do. I mean, nobody's going to pay for that anymore. Everybody wants results. They want to know how it's going to happen. They want to know they're going to get their return on investment. They even want profit sharing sometimes, instead revenue sharing instead of like paying. It's very, very complicated. So you have to kind of like bring as much value as possible in the pitch, right? So that's just like researching the company, researching the solution, doing very high fidelity prototypes. Your pitch material should be like, okay, this is the answer. I know the answer. It may not be 100% right. You're going to figure it out later, but they expect it. They expect, I see it. I see how it is. And everyone's going to be doing that. So imagine you go up against a couple of agencies that are bringing them high fidelity prototypes to the pitch, and you're just like, yeah, we're going to do a discovery phase because we're so smart. Don't worry, we're going to figure it out. You're going to lose. So I think that that's why it's very important to kind of like leverage the capability of AI in the beginning for this research, for these insights.
Really interesting. Thank you for saying that because I think I truly feel as per the the working process and the operations in uh, at this time, what I feel this is really important to create the regular pipelines and then getting the feedbacks like what research is working, what research is not working. This is essentially very important. Thank you for saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Moving towards the next part, which is well analyzed digital strategy for an outdated website during pre-sales client audit. So my question is pros- prospects website analytics show clicks and visits, but how do you turn those numbers into real decisions that help grow their brand?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of the mistakes that people make is that they just install whatever analytics software and they just do whatever out of the box tracking there is, and that's it. So they get the clicks, they get the visits, but doesn't really provide, it doesn't answer any questions, right? It just shows some things. Maybe you get lucky, maybe you learn some things,
Yeah.
but really you want to start from the top, right? You want to identify what are we trying to do here? What's the conversion? What's the journey? And then make sure that you're tracking those things to get to the person to the end, and you're defining what metrics are, and set up your reports and dashboards properly. You might not be perfect, right? Because you need to be retrospective about it. You're gonna, after a few months, you set it all up, and you're, man, I wish we tracked this. Okay, do it now, and we'll start now. You know what I mean? Maybe you can derive it, but at least you took a stab at what you thought was the problem, and you went and you set up your metrics to try to find the solution to the problem in order to increase your conversion or whatever your business goals are.
I would like to add this thing as well, Adam. I think the reporting mechanisms really are important because this is the thing when we are showing the analytics to the business owners, to our clients at the
Mm-hmm.
right time. So that reporting mechanism has to come with the right practice, like particular things that is understandable by the client because not every client has got that technical expertise. They're going to understand all these clicks and all the technical details that we are going to provide. So that's a very good answer. Thank you for saying it. Moving
Mm-hmm.
towards the next part, this is about rapid prototyping during pre-sales.
Mm-hmm.
And the question that I would like to ask is, what's the role of leveraging AI for rapid prototyping during the pre-sales process?
Yeah, so it used to be that like you would, the salespeople would be like, man, we really got to win this. Can we mock up something? Can we mock up something? Can we take something, reskin it? Do you have any developers on the bench? Can they work on this? And it's very expensive. I mean, you take a developer who could be making money doing something else and is working on pre-sales and building something that you're going to throw away. It's really expensive, but now it's so easy. It's so easy with the codes like, like Lovable and Replit, and to build something exactly like a prototype. I mean, yes, of course we had Envision and designers would make something a clickable prototype. It would even fool people like, oh, wow, you already built it. No, it's not real. But, you can build something with Lovable. You can go into the first round of a pitch. You can get some feedback on the first round. Then the second round, you can change it and you can give the feedback right away and have it. So it's super valuable, and anytime you do something much higher fidelity, you're going to help non-technical people or people with a kind of a different way of looking at things to visualize what you're saying. Some people can't read wireframes, they don't get it, so you have to kind of bring them on that journey. And again, if everyone's doing it, you're going to lose unless you do it, right? So if everyone's walking in there with these high fidelity prototypes made by Lovable or Replit and you don't,
Mm.
you're not going to win. So it's kind of an arms race to some extent.
But I really like the idea, the way you have said it. That's really true. Again, it becomes a race ultimately. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
can we move towards the next session? And this
Mm-hmm.
is how to safely use AI automation in the delivery
Mm-hmm.
process. And we are going to discuss here importance of R&D, embracing vibe coding cautiously, CI and CD, which is continuous integration and continuous development, and DevOps, rolling out AI features and products. So the first question that I would like to ask you is, how has the importance of R&D changed given the rapid pace of AI evolution?
I think we talked about this a little bit before. It's super critical now because it's changing so fast. And there are a lot of tools out there. So there might be one out there that is perfect for your business and is going to make you like 10 times more productive and you just don't know about it.
Mm.
So like So, if you go on vacation for 2 weeks, you come back, the world is like different, right? So you have to kind of make sure you have this R&D process baked into your system, baked into your processes. And it's not like, how it used to be like Google, give 10% of the time to work on your pet projects. No, it's like people need to be thinking during their day, I could totally automate this, and then there's like come up with an idea and do it. And it can't just come from leadership, right? It has to come from everybody who's got their hands in the weeds. Each of the people who know the most are the ones doing the jobs that can be automated. So help yourself become that 10 times employee, by doing the R&D, doing the stuff on the side, and bringing the ideas to leadership and to the rest of the team, and trying to optimize this as much as possible. Because the way I kind of look at it is, and it took me a few years to figure this out, but it's like everybody's job is revenue, right? All the way to the janitor, like everybody's job is revenue, because we all here, if we run out of revenue, we all go home for good. You know what I mean? So it's like we have to be thinking like that all the time in everything that we do. So that's why it has to be baked into the culture, the R&D.
I want to this thing, and like I'm curious to know further about this part, which is like in terms of the process pipeline. How do you see it? Like exactly where can we automate it in terms of the R&D sector? Like we understand every client is different, every industry is different. They all have different needs. They are coming with their different requirements. So how can we move further? Like where exactly the automation begins?
Well, I think it's like what I would do is if I'm doing something and I get this idea like this, I can do much faster with AI. I'm sure I can, right? So simple. You just go to ChatGPT and explain. I'm doing this thing. This is taking me all day. This is such a boring task. What can I use to automate this? It's going to come back in a second with 10 different tools that are possible for you to play around with. I mean, that's it, right? It's like we have, like I joke around, it's like we have a deity on speed dial. You know what I mean? Like to help us with anything, So like, the tool might have just come out last week. So not even like your colleagues know about it, right? It might be something new. Hey, look
All
at this
right.
new thing or new version. Or even something simple like ChatGPT has a new feature that just got released yesterday. Look at that. It's available and it helps me so much. So that's why I think it has to be has to come up from somebody saying like, man, this part of my job can totally be automated. I don't like this. Can we get a robot to do this? And then all of a sudden that's where it sparks. And then you kind of find the tool that fits in that specific spot. Try it out. You know what I mean? It's not going to be expensive, guaranteed. I mean, there are some that are expensive, of course, and you might want to invest a little bit, but some of this stuff is super powerful for nothing, $20 a month, something like that, you know, just to try. And then when it becomes really valuable, then you get the enterprise license and you go down that path.
Yeah, I think the trial and learning phase that keeps going on and on. You have to, the learning never stops. I could recall it. One of my supervisor, they once mentioned the learning never stops. Like if you really want to learn more, then you have to be adaptive. You have to keep up with the pace, and you have to understand that if you're not going to learn it, someone else is learning it quickly, more quickly than you. So they will apply
Yeah.
it. And these
Yeah.
are very critical insights, Adam. Thank you so much. About this vibe coding, my question is, what's your perspective on vibe coding with AI, and how should teams approach it cautiously?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a buzzword, right? But really, if you just
Yeah.
kind of distill what it really is, it's code generation, right? And we've been doing code generation forever. Like it's always been there. You know what I mean? So right now, if you just think about Lovable and Replit, like for prototyping, for user testing, for brainstorming, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's super, super. Like I remember when Microsoft Front Page came out back in the days, and you had to do WYSIWYG. You can use a WYSIWYG editor and make a web page, and it was
Yes.
amazing. You can make a web page, wow, without knowing HTML, and all the developers like, oh, the code is spaghetti code. It's terrible. It doesn't matter, right? It was like making a website. People were making websites with just Microsoft Word converting to website. It was amazing. So this has kind of been around for a long time. But I think that now we're so much more sophisticated. And I mean, I don't know where we're going to be in a month, in a year, right? But right now, you having the ability to write production code with AI, right? So you should still treat it as like a junior dev, even if it's super sophisticated. She'll treat it like a mid-level dev. Make sure that you have strong test suites, security testing, compliance, maintainability, it's maintainable, performance, all that stuff you need to change. Like you wouldn't have a junior developer just committing code to production, right? You test, right? So it's the same thing. So you can consider it as production code, whatever certain tools are using are more capable than others, but just make sure you're testing it. I remember there was a story I read about a CEO of some startup was bragging, "Look at us vibe coding all day, man." And then the next tweet was like, "Oh my God, we just destroyed our production database. Oh my God, And it was like, why did you do your testing in production? Like, that seems like a human problem, not like a developer problem, like the human messed up there, and also another thing is that you're getting pushback from people on vibe coding because it's a little bit of an existential crisis for people, Oh my God, the robot's coming for my jobs. Vibe coding sucks. It's just like the more they say it, maybe it'll happen more. Maybe it'll go away. It's not going away. You got to learn it, or else you're going to be the guy that's not going to have the job. You know what I mean? So, that's why there's pushback on it. Yes, of course, the beginning, there's some bugs, it doesn't do things right, it cuts corners, blah, blah, blah. Just wait, coming. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. I feel like embrace it, but be careful,
Yeah, everyone should take that advice, I would say. So, coming towards the CI and CD and DevOps. So, with this continuous integration and continuous development, I would like to ask this: how can agencies build a DevOps culture that actually supports speed and quality, not just automation?
Yeah, so I think that you can set up everything your DevOps perfectly right, but there's always going to be people that are going to cut corners. I remember there was a time where you had two developers, each one had their own password, and they were committing to Git and then logging in the other one, and then reviewing their code and just submitting it. So they would like have to deal with each other. So you're always going to find people. So you have to have, it's in the culture. You have to have like a safe and trusting environment where people are allowed to not cut corners. Sometimes it takes a little longer. You almost have to make it effortless. You have to make it harder to not use the systems. You have to make it harder to cut corners. And I feel like there should be some public shaming involved in this. Like I remember one of the places I worked at, they had a screen that had the Jenkins builds, and when one of them turned red, be like, "Who broke the build?" And it would be like, "Who did that?" Like it would be like, "It wasn't you, not me, I swear." So you have the little bit of competitive camaraderie when it comes to that kind of thing, and it's important. Like we don't do that here, that kind of thing. So, and then one more super important thing is that you need non-technical leaders to have buy-in on this culture, right? So, for example, you can't have a CEO coming in and saying, "I don't care that it's Friday. We're going to deploy today." Like you can't have that. There's a reason why we don't deploy on Fridays. There's a reason. Oh, well, just fix it in production. It's fine. Just do a quick thing. Like you can't have that. You have to have buy-in. You have to have the CTOs kind of being a little bit of the thought leader in this and explain that this is why we're not doing this, guys. We have to prepare better next time. You know what I mean? So that's part of the culture, I think.
People would refer to it like, and if we want to take it apart from the technical side, so the rest of the businesses would consider it that procrastination. So it's part of every single thing. Like if you the moment you really want to get the things done, then for some reason the other participant, the other member is not equally contributing to the cause, so it becomes of no use. Like nobody is going to
Mm-hmm.
get the benefit out of it, but ultimately the system will keep running and someone else will take the opportunity. So now the opportunity comes towards this one, rolling out AI features in products. And I would ask, what's your approach to rolling out AI powered features from understanding what's out there to proving real value for clients?
Yeah, so on the feature side, not on the ops side, like on the feature side, when you're deploying, let's say you're deploying a website that has some kind of AI features, right? I think you got to start small. I think you got to start with small value. What value are you providing? A lot of times people have these innovation KPIs and they're like, we need AI. Okay, let's just do chatbot or whatever something. So well, what value are you providing? Recommendation, even something simple. Do it, like get it done. What do they say? Like investing, they say it's like the best time to start AI, learn about AI is 2 years ago. The second best time is now, so start now, and like get stuff out there that's working and then do it slow, make sure it's secure, if you can A/B test features, do that because then you can kind of get feedback and make sure you have rollback procedures. You can turn stuff off, because it's a little bit dangerous. And then anything that's big, like posting on behalf of people, make sure there's a human in the loop and things like that. So just be careful, but like don't be scared. It's like part of the process of kind of like rolling things out, and then you gain momentum and you learn a little bit about it. And some of the tools that you can plug into the sites that get better and better each time. So you're going to roll out something, and then all of a sudden version 2 of that comes out and has all these extra features. You already have it out there, you know,
Mm-hmm.
win. So.
I'd like to ask this one, how are we creating value for the clients? Because ultimately we have to prove this thing to the client as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Like for example, this is a simple example on an e-commerce site. If you wanted to do recommended products based on something, it's going to increase your conversion, definitely, right? If you have stuff on there that's below the product that you actually like, you know what I mean? That's the AI. And that's out of the box. Like Amazon personalized can do that very, very easily, right? So, and then automate like chatbots. Very simple execution of a AI chatbot. You get the person to answer, what are the hours that you're open? Okay, yeah. Oh, let me talk to a human. Okay, you just eliminated half that cost. You know what I mean? And people
Very
are happy.
common.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
So it's like
that's very
making
common.
the right, yeah, exactly. So making the right decisions, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's amazing. That's the end of the session. Let's move towards the integration with Martech. And I have got plenty of questions here for you, Adam. Just be
Hmm.
prepared. Starting from the AI and Martech integration, I would like to ask, AI can automate campaign execution, but can it replace the human ability to align marketing goals with business objectives? What's your opinion?
Yeah. So I was thinking about this, and it's like, so if you just think of it as like there's the machine here, right? You have like the client's on the side, the requirements gathering. So you're talking to the client, what do you need? What do you need to do? So it's human to human. And then taking those business objectives and turning them into actions, it's kind of a collaboration between the human and the machine, right? And you say, this
Mhm.
is what we're going to do. And you going back, and then all of a sudden, what are the actions? Okay, we need to do this stuff. All that doing, the robots can do that, right? And when the robots are finished with their job, they come out with the data. And then the human and the robot together generate the insights, right? And then the human talks to the human again to explain the insights, right? So it's almost like the center is the robots. And then on the side that has interfaces with humans is the humans, right? So it's almost like you kind of want to shelter your clients from the robots and you be the buffer between you and the robots. And then your robots are your robots. You know what I mean? So I think that like, yes, you need that. I mean, now who knows, 6 months from now, we're all going to be, friends with robots. But like right now, it's like you can do a lot inside your organization with automation. But when it comes to kind of gathering the requirements or explaining to the robots and understanding the robots, there's going to be this human buffer. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's where the value of humans currently work. And generally, to be honest, those are the more senior people very often, right? And that's the kind of difficult for people graduating now because some of the routine tasks are now kind of automated. So I think that people need to very quickly move to those soft skills, you know, and younger people can be doing this stuff, but it's tricky. It's tricky times.
I guess to this point, you have to be very adaptive because the pace which it's happening, we all understand. If you really want to control it, if you don't really want to get it out of control, obviously you have to take the initiative right in time. That's very important. So
Mm-hmm.
the next question would be, uh, with AI making their in-house marketing teams stronger, how can agencies stand out and still capture revenue?
Yeah, so I mean, there's always been situations where companies have internal marketing teams and they hire agencies. It's always been, and it's always a little bit of they're a client, but they feel like they're stepping on each other's toes. It's always kind of been like that. Now the difference now is that the internal marketing people, no matter how senior they are, they were, whatever, they're empowered because of the tools, right? So they're becoming more powerful. So the people making the financial decisions are like, why do we have to have an agency? I just have this person doing it. So that's the problem, right? So I think that what you need to do is not fight the tools, right? Because they have the same tools as you. You need to kind of come in there as consultant, like I will bring more value to your company because reasons, right? So in-house teams, they have internal politics, they have competing priorities. They have to focus on 10 different things, they have limited exposure to multiple verticals. Someone who works in a telco for 15 years in marketing doesn't have anything, no, only knows telco, right? So the
Yeah.
value of someone else with different experience, is there. And you have different ages. You have people who are very good at the social side and they're young and they're on TikTok, and you have people that are old school, so that level of difference, you get different experiences, And also just simply the scaling, right? So you need 10 people, you're not going to hire 10 people. So just on the scaling side, you're going to have to, they're still going to work with agencies, but I would say don't compete on the tools. You have to be up to speed on the tools and everything, but don't be like, we know that, unless you have something proprietary or something like that, lean in on consultants space, and don't compete with the internal people. They're your friends. These are friends. I'm going to teach you. You go in there, you say, it doesn't have to be recurring revenue forever. You can think of it as like, I'm going to go in here, I'm going to help you, I'm going to train you, and then I'm going to leave. That's it. And if you stay for longer, okay, fine. But, like you don't want to compete with these guys, I think,
Very good, very useful insight, I would say. And it
Yeah.
depends on the, the understanding, who has got the better understanding of the mega and micro trends, because this becomes the foremost part of the R&D sector as well. So coming towards this section, which is better understanding of mega and micro trends through digital marketing agencies, what I would like to ask that AI can help schedule posts and send emails through in-house marketing efforts, but do you think it can really understand the client's business goals the way an independent agency would have a view of?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like this is kind of like a combination of what we kind of said, where it's like, the external agency's value is the consulting that they provide, and yes, as I said, AI can, they can do things like schedule tasks and do things on the marketing side, but you still need to translate to the humans what the humans need. You still need to translate what, I mean, yes, AI can help you with that, and maybe in 6 months they can do the whole job, but right now that kind of like nuance is a little bit even if the AIs can do it, I don't think people will trust it for a little while. It's going to take a little while for them to trust it. So that you still have to have like a thumbs up from a human saying, yeah, AI told me this, let's do it this way. It's good. I know. You know what I mean? So you have that kind of like soft aspect to it, yeah. So again, you're not competing with in-house teams. You're supplementing, you're working with them, and you just got to look at it from the perspective of AI is your automated tasks, and you're still there providing the consulting value.
Right. So like that goes in this direction, that the need of the in-house agencies or the external agencies would remain there, because otherwise, even if you're completely relying on the AI, still you can't just create that storytelling, that type of content. You can't just fulfill the requirements of the business the way humans are supposed to do. Coming
Yeah.
towards this part, which is human-led strategies. In fact, future-proofing the Martech stack. How can
Mhm.
businesses future-proof their Martech stack to avoid rebuilding every few years? I think that's the way. This is exactly the case where AI is going to be useful much of the time.
Yeah, I think it's tricky, because I remember like, several years ago, people were buying like Adobe Experience Manager, Cloud, and all this stuff, that
Yes, yes.
$1 million for all the tenant license, crazy. And then they regretted it, they regretted it. And I remember working for Harley Davidson, we built this whole thing of like marketing templates. No one wanted to use them because they were too strict. They sent $2 million, something crazy like that. So, I mean, those days are over. Now with this the ability to kind of have this majorly decoupled architecture, this orchestration layer that moves things around with N8N, these things can talk to each other. You don't have to invest so much on this kind of, you don't have to think about it. Nobody knows what's going to happen in a year. Even on like the podcast, I was saying these guys know, if anyone knows, these guys know what's going to happen, and they don't know what's going to happen. So I think that you have to be okay with this distributed, decoupled architecture and orchestration suite. So, for example, if one piece doesn't work, you can swap it out, put another one in. Yes, there's some custom code, and you have to be doing R&D and optimization and stuff like that. But the future, I guess in a little bit of a cliche, the future proof is the agility of the system. You know what I mean? You have to, if you want to be successful in 3 years from now, you have to be able to kind of deal with the change. You don't want to lock yourself in. So.
Very good. That's amazing. That's amazing. Thanks for mentioning that. Independent agencies, human-led strategies, which we're talking about now. So, my question is, where in the customer journey are human-led strategies most critical? Lead nurturing, storytelling, or trust building, despite advances in AI automation?
Yeah, so I mean, the way I think it's a spectrum, right? Like I think at the top, as I was saying before, the top of the funnel, like AI is very, very important because you got to catch as many fish as possible. And then as you go down the funnel, as you get closer to the sale, then the trust becomes the most important thing, right? So it's like it becomes like robots on this side and then humans on this side, kind of like that. So I think, it depends if you specifically, if you're talking about lead nurturing, storytelling, and trust building, right? Like, so lead nurturing, that's a lot of AI just getting in the door with people, understanding, getting the messaging right, even the, very contextual messaging, on the storytelling side, it's like half, right? Because, how it is, like they say, there's no original ideas coming to AI, but I mean, it definitely facilitates creativity for sure. And it can also synthesize tons of data and give you kind of very specific thing. Then you can, humans are there to kind of massage, but then on the trust side, it's all human, 100%. I mean, you can even have AI helping you. Like, for example, if you have a lot of qualified leads and you want to have set simple execution, set reminders to when to catch up with certain people, AI can help you with that. You haven't talked to this person in a while, you should call them, so I mean, you have that, but really it's you calling them, you talking to them. So there's a facilitation of AI, but it's like you're on the trust level. So I think there's a spectrum,
Yeah, that part, and I would this the trust factor which you're mentioning, because some of the cases which were highlighted in the news as well, they were like, it's not giving you the trustworthy news right now. So we have to be very
Mm-hmm.
careful about this particular aspect, and obviously human touch. Again, it comes to this point that the storytelling that humans are investing their time in, all the content creation, all the writing, that human touch that cannot be eliminated. So, for the multi-time entrepreneur, this section, my question would be, instead of adding more apps and tools, do you believe having one's own data portfolio in terms of a single website could be the foundation for long-term growth?
No, I think you have to have a website, especially now. It's so easy. You can make a new one every day if you want, it's so easy. But and you have to have a website. But I think that you need a suite of tools. You need to be where your customers are on social. You need to have your website. You need to have outbound. You need to have inbound. You need to have everything, right? Because it's wild west out there. So I don't think you can rely on having a website anymore. But you need it. And also the website feeds the AI, right? That's where it gets the data. So I mean, there's all talk about what is it, like AI SEO for AI, but the term they're using, GEO, I think they're calling it, generative AI, search engine optimization, whatever. Like that is fed from the websites. You know what I mean? So you need to have that baseline there. But yeah, I think that you need to be everywhere. To be honest, I don't think you can just focus on just having a website anymore. Not, I mean, it's been years since you need that. So
I think, yeah, that would be true. I think because we have to keep track of the time as well. So I would like to move towards the last session, and then we can
sure.
take some of the questions quickly. So this is about Martech and storytelling, and obviously we are highlighting this factor how much storytelling is important. Most of the content is being created these days, and based on the AI automation, where we can create a different, unique selling proposition for our clients. So coming towards this part, solopreneurs' journeys and the role of AI, what I would like to ask you, do you trust brand messages more when they sound perfectly automated or when they sound personal and real?
Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because the state that it's in now is going to be like the worst it's ever going to be. It's just going to get better. And there's just going to be a point in time where you can't tell anymore if someone's talking to you or a robot's talking to you. Like, I mean, just think a year from now, you're going to have AI friends and people are going to have, you're going to hear if someone gets married to an AI, like these things will happen in our lifetime, like in next year, you know what I mean? This will happen, right? So I think it will, but you remember this conversation, this will happen. And you're like, oh my God, he was right. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm wrong. But
It's beyond imaginations.
yeah, these things are like science fiction happening today, so at the end of the day, I feel like what's it going to be, and I was thinking about this analogy. It's the only thing that really matters is the emotional response. That's it. So if you get an emotional response and it feels legitimate for you, and like a good analogy is like you go to a movie and you see actors on the screen and the sad things happen to them and you're crying. Everyone's okay with this. Everyone's okay with people crying for fake things that happen. And nobody questions that, right? And like, so that's the thing that's going to happen. You're going to be, as long as the emotional response is getting elicited from you, it's valid enough. You know what I mean? And especially the next generation coming up that are growing up like this, us old people are going to be like, oh, it's not real. And they're like, who cares? You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I think that yeah, it's a weird question because it's like, it's such a short-lived kind of in-between state that we're in where the brand messages are, you know, questionable, fake. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, so you can't totally rely on that part. And then because people have that emotional intelligence, the people with a high emotional intelligence that tend to be immersive in that reality and they feel that pain very sharply. So it leads to
Hmm.
that point automatically.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for this panel discussion. Now, I would really like to have some quick questions, and let me just come back to the QA part. Okay, so can we have the questions, please? If let me just check it quickly. Just give me some time. So I am having some sort of problem with the screen. Just bear with me, please. We have got some of the questions, and I would quickly ask you. So, in your experience, what's the single biggest way technology has changed client expectations in the past few years?
I just speed. People want everything and they want it yesterday and they want it for cheaper. You know, I mean, the value, I mean, it used to be cheaper. So we, moved to countries where it's cheaper. That's been going on for 40 years. Now it's like, okay, we get to this point where, there's only certain minimum threshold you can have for cost. And now it's like getting everything done quicker. You know what I mean? So that's happened. That's happening very, very fast, and I think that, I mean, we used to, hundreds of thousands of dollar websites. They don't exist anymore. People aren't making those. Maybe they are,
Yeah.
but like I would be surprised. For example, Avatar 2's just saw a trailer for it yesterday. Like, I think that a kid in basement can make Avatar for $1,000 now. You know what I mean? So it's the same kind of thing. It's like the expectations of high quality things that function very, very well is so low, and clients know that, and they're like, I'm not paying this anymore. So that's the biggest kind of change I've seen. The speed and the quality and the cost has gone down a lot, and it's very difficult to
That's
compete, you know?
Yeah, I would agree to that part.
Hmm.
Quickly taking the short questions. For smaller agencies like mine, aspiring to reach enterprise level clients, what's one tech investment you would say is non-negotiable?
Um, I think that trying to reach out to enterprise clients, I think that you need to prove to them that you're different than the big agencies. And I think that's how you get in the door, because there's what we experience in Dubai very often is consultant fatigue, right? These bigger companies, they don't want to work with the big agencies anymore because there's so much bureaucracy, right? So if you can kind of come to them with a process where you're like, we're small, we're nimble, we're agile, let me show you how to kind of like do this in a way where you don't have to pay all that money. You can get higher quality even from us and white glove service. So it's not really a technology, it's more like a process. It's more like a kind of an ethos that you can come in there and compete, you know. And I would recommend, and we've seen this a couple of times in Dubai, where we kind of go in and we make friends with someone and we get a pilot project done with them. Let's just do one little project. Let's try it with a small agency, and then it works. And then there's a land expand cross-selling thing that happens. You know what I mean? So I would say that yes, the biggest problem with getting an enterprise clients is as I say, no one got fired for hiring IBM. It's kind of like that. Everyone hires PwC because they can, but people can be much more agile and much cheaper and much more effective and have a better relationship. So that's what I would recommend trying to get into the enterprise clients.
Mhm. Next question would be, what tools or systems do you currently use to manage client relationships and projects?
Well, I mean, it depends on the size of the project. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Atlassian suite, which is like the classic Jira, Confluence, everything. And there's all these kind of new integrations that are happening there. And then managing relationships with the clients. I feel like on the sales side, obviously there's some very relatively cheap, very hardcore CRMs that you can buy like HubSpot and things like that, and you can do a lot of automations. But on the client and project management side, you don't really need to get super sophisticated with the tools, right? I think you just need to have competent project managers that are doing things in an agile way, and having, following the processes, the standard processes that we've been doing for a long time. Having complete user stories, having an agile way of working, having very strict kind of like rules on what gets into MVP and what doesn't. Automating as much as possible, automating the CI/CD process, DevOps, QA, and security testing, all that stuff. So yeah, I think that it doesn't really necessarily matter which tools you're using, as long as it's kind of simple and kind of following kind of some of the best practices from a process perspective. There's a lot of tools out there,
There's no doubt about it. Another
Yeah.
question is, do you have any existing AI or automation tools integrated into your workflow? We all know you kept talking about ChatGPT, but any other tools that you would really like to highlight here?
I mean, I haven't really experimented N8N too much because it's self-hosted and open source, but people love it. I've only really experimented with Make.com and Zapier from a connecting things together perspective and getting tools for your own processes. And obviously on outbound, I use kind of like a couple tools. I used to use Dripify, now I use another one to get like as much outbound marketing as possible. And on one of my projects that I'm working on, it's not an operations side, but on the feature set side, where like there's so many good tools that Amazon has for using AI. Like for example, using Amazon Recognize and content moderation and all these kind of things that come out of the box. So I think that I would recommend like using one of these orchestration softwares like Zapier, Bake.com, and N8N for your internal operations processes, for especially for SMEs. And then when you're building stuff on the feature side, don't try to build anything yourself. Don't build your own LLM. I mean, in some cases it makes sense, right? But really, there's so much out there that you can just hook into with like plugging the Lego blocks in together. So.
That's really important because people need to know about those tools. That's really important. I think audience would have make notes on that. So just a few more questions. Could a
Mm-hmm.
more targeted marketing strategy driven by Martech tools help you attract better projects? As was the topic of today's conversation as well.
What was the question? Would using more advanced Martech tools help you get better projects?
Yeah, more targeted marketing strategy driven by Martech tools help you attract better projects.
Yeah, I think you can do a lot with outbound. You can do a lot, and you can do a lot with inbound. You can do a lot with your social media presence. You can do a lot with kind of getting out there. The key to this whole thing is just getting past the noise. That's the key, And I think part of it is kind of making sure that you can kind of get your ICP exactly right. And then, there's tons of tools that can kind of, for example, just simply on LinkedIn, you can kind of, these tools that kind of make sure you don't go over your limits and get your IC exactly right and have AI integrated so that, but again, once you get past that little piece of the funnel, it's all old school networking and marketing. It's all handshakes and voice notes and those kind of things. Those really, really work, So yeah. And then as a result, I mean, you're going to get more targeted leads, right? Because your ICP is really narrow. You're going to get people that are responding to you on a human level, and that's going to be much higher than people that are just thinking. A lot of times you're going to be pitching for something and you're the second or third bid on a triple bid compliance thing. And it's like you're wasting your time. In this case, you're coming in there and you know the person. So you're in the number one, so it's a lot easier to get clients that work for you.
Absolutely, I would agree with that part, and it's really important in the highly competitive era. This becomes the foremost need. Like you have to eliminate the noise, and you have to listen to the right channels who are going to be useful for you. Just the last question that I would like to take here: what are some quick win use cases for AI in lead generation and sales pipeline management?
So I think again, the key is getting. So one thing that I'm doing is, making sure that, when I get, for example, on LinkedIn, right? When I get I'll do my ICP and automate, outbound, but the step that's automated is connection, right? After that, right? When I do a response to somebody, it's always kind of an icebreaker that like it looks at their feed and it tells them exactly. So there is some level of manual process that happens, right? For me, what's worked is getting past that connection request. And then once they connect to you, then you have to do something that breaks the mold a little bit, or else you're just going to be like, hi, my name is Adam, I'm fractional CTO, please give me money. It's like, that's not really like going to work for anybody. Like how many people say, how many a day? You have to kind of like really focus on, even if I don't get uh, business or partnership or anything from this person, right? The connection is valuable because we're all alone here, in our little offices, in our houses, and we're not going to the office anymore. So people just want connection. Even if you meet someone, they're cool, and that's it. It's okay. It's okay, and maybe one day they'll introduce you to one of their friends, So you can't kind of like think so clearly, like this is going to be a sale. It's like virtual networking taken to like this new level. And I recommend kind of taking that, like that human piece very, very early on in the funnel, but you have to make that you have to have your AI smart enough to make that funnel so that it's a sustainable process from your biz dev perspective.
Interesting. Thanks for saying it. And I really want to add one more part, like how I refer to this thing, that we have to eliminate the AI phobia because this is
Yep.
becoming the new trend these days. But like obviously when we can use it for the relationship building to connect with our clients with the connections that you're talking about, that makes the life convenient for businesses and every
Yeah.
single thing. Another question that's interesting one. So, what are the biggest risks or of over relying on AI in business development?
Yeah, you can have that. Like I've had some mess ups. You have to own them, like for example, I reached out to someone, I talked to them, and then my software reached out to them again with the initial message. And then they reached out to me and it was like, did you mean to send me this? And I was like, oh yeah, I need to, but it was almost like a good thing, right? Because it was like, I told them, oh yeah, I'm experimenting with outbound strategies. So I guess this got messed up. And then he was helping me troubleshoot why it was breaking. And it turned out that his LinkedIn URL he changed because he put a little bit his new company in there or something like that, and then my software was keying off that and thought it was something new. So it was almost like we made a connection based on both of us trying to optimize our outbound because I screwed up. You know what I mean? So it's like you can't like pretend like that you're not doing it, because if you're not doing it then you're going to lose. So everyone's doing it, but you also kind of have to realize that you're just doing it to get past the noise. That's what I think. So you own up to it. So yeah.
That's really interesting. Thank you. I think, and all the questions which are still left unanswered, I'm so sorry about that. And you, this is my message to the audience. Please just reach out to us after this session. We are available. I'm the representative of Legend Digitech. There's a whole team behind us. And if you have the questions directly about AI session and AI and automation, feel free to reach out and connect to Adam Etline at LinkedIn. And rest of the questions can be answered. Hoping to have another session. I would like to conclude it here, the whole presentation. Thank you again, Adam, for the lovely session.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you
The
for the
time
opportunity.
Thank you so much. The time is really short, so this is exactly why I'm going to come towards the conclusive remarks. I hope our audience have enjoyed the session. Thank you so much, whoever has been able to join the session today. Really appreciate it, and I hope you got the better learning. You were able to overcome the phobia, the AI phobia, and understanding the needs of the requirement, the needs of the time, the business needs very well. And what I feel, with enormous power of AI and digital tools comes great responsibility. It is up to us as entrepreneurs and professionals to decide whether to use them as a threat or as an opportunity. So let's choose to harness this power to lift each other up, build trust, and create sustainable growth. Thank you so much. A very huge thank you I would like to offer to you, Adam Etline, for taking the time out. Then our CEO, Mr. Fahad Latif, and our project manager, MJ. You did a great job. Thank you for that. Our client success manager, S. Robinson, brilliant energy. And our IT head, IT manager, Mr. Talha, and the whole team of Legend Digitech. Thank you so very much. Thank you, audience, for having this session with us. Hoping to connect later and having another session with you, Adam. I'm going to just sign it off. Again, a big thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See you soon.
See you soon.